Hi everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher and I'm stitching on a leaf. Someone in the comments when I did the video on the tea bags, stitching in a tea bags, I asked what was the weirdest or most unusual thing you've stitched on, and someone said a leaf, and I thought, that's interesting. I believe this is a magnolia leaf. I don't know. I found it on the ground while walking in the West Village here in New York City. It was very easy to stitch with. I'm using a 22 chenille needle and the thread gather Silk and Pearl number 5. At the end of the video, I stitch on another leaf. It was not a magnolia. It's a different kind, I don't know what, and it's much drier and much more challenging. So I have 2 leaves at the end, which was really interesting and fun to stitch with. I'm using the Thread Gatherer's Aurora Crimson Woods. It's got a little metallic in it. It's really pretty. And I did manage to do it threaded on a 22 chenille. It's a little tricky to get it on there, but you can. And I'm now doing a Palestrina knot. And I'm going to go along this spine. There's the back. When stitching on this leaf, you do need to be careful to go gently and not tug or pull too hard. You need to keep everything pretty loose because even though this stitch is really, this leaf is very forgiving, it is a leaf. It's a little bit like stitching into paper. You don't want it to tear. So I'm just being pretty gentle, not pulling too hard. I am amazed at how well this is going, though, I must say. There was a little brown bit here on this leaf. You can see it here. It was sort of, a brown arc. And so what I'm doing is I'm making the opened buttonhole stitch just around the edge, right? So you start with a back stitch around the part that was sort of brown. And now I'm coming in with my needle and thread. And I'm creating the open buttonhole. And I don't have anything really to anchor it onto here, so I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to keep going. Hope for the best. It'll be fine. And then because of the way the leaf is tapered, I don't think I'll do these. I think what I'll do instead is I'll come in here to this one, and I'll just kind of anchor it. And I don't even think I'll go any further. I think I'll just leave it and then tuck this behind. But that's kind of cool. It reminds me of, there's a Japanese technique with pottery when it's broken and they fill it with gold. It's this really beautiful technique where you're sort of celebrating the brokenness, which I can relate to. So there's that. It almost looks like a little worm, doesn't it? Here, I'll pull back. You can see how my leaf is curled up even in just the last day. I was thinking of adding a couple little French knots here. And maybe a little stray one over here. Someone said that they had done stitched on a leaf, which gave me this idea, and that they'd crocheted around the edge, which is so cool. And I never really got the hang of crocheting. I've tried. My mother taught me, but she taught me right-handed, and I also knit right-handed. But and I've looked at left-handed, videos for crocheting left-handed. I just still can't quite figure it out. I get impatient and then I just stop. Okay, so there's that. I kind of want to bring these knots down a little, I think. And maybe jump the spine here. Now with these, I really am going right into the same hole that I'm coming up in. Let's see, so maybe I'll do a little cluster here. How fun is this, my little open buttonhole? I really like that, over that round, kind of brown part. One of the things with when you're stitching into something that can tear, like paper or this leaf, you don't want to tug, because that's when you start ripping holes. I also want to finish this before it gets too dry. Although I suppose one could wet it. Sure. When I picked it up, it was snowing, so it was quite damp. But I think it was also had just come off the tree because it was quite fresh. My little leaf with a little bit of t-shirting, hand-dyed t-shirting, some linen, my Palestrina knots, French knots, open buttonhole, and I wrapped this and then wove in and out for the stem, but I like it. Now I have to put it into something. With this leaf, I don't know what this is. It's got a little thorn at the edge, and it's very, very dry. But I was able to stitch into it with a little cross stitch, and now I'm just adding some beads here. You can see there's a large hole. It was where I tried to do a cross stitch, and it rips. I figure I'll just put stuff in there, because as you do. So as you can see, I pierced another hole. This sleeve is very, very tricky. So I'm just going to leave it, and I'm going to leave this kind of hanging out. And I'm going to leave these just sort of dangling. Yeah, I'm going to kind of let that just be what it is. Not sure which way I will hang it. Maybe like that.